I think we get Dan Hurley's Wolf of Wall Street moment. He walks up to the front of the room. It's real quiet. The kids are sitting there, heads in their hands, like, oh my God, coach is going to tell us he's going to LA. He's going to LA. And Danny walks up there, sort of quiet, again, very somber. I'm not leaving. And everybody looks around like, what? You're not going to coach LeBron in LA and then take over the Lakers and it's your team? Danny, what do you think? All the money. I'm not leaving. I'm staying right here. And they gun for a third title. And everything at Uconn that isn't named after Gino becomes named after Danny Hurley. And he just becomes Uconn personified, Danny Hurley. This is his Wolf of Wall Street moment, Joe.
No. He wants to go to the NBA. He's going to go to the NBA. He's going to make his jump. Will there be other NBA opportunities? Probably. I don't know that there's going to be an opportunity like the Lakers ever again. That's what it is.
Yeah,
you may not like the Lakers.
Give it a year or two after LeBron gets somebody else fired and scapegoats someone else.
LeBron won't be playing in 2 years. It's probably a one-year thing for LeBron. So I'm not even worried too much about that. If he signs this mega deal, we've got to remember that it's going to be one of these rare situations where he's making more than most of the players, just as much as the superstar players. That's the reports out there. So I do think it's not going to be a cycle. Let's just cycle through to the next guy like we usually do. I would be concerned about that, but this situation is very different. It's a different person that you're trying to convince to go to the NBA level.
But when Kyrie's not showing up, PJ Washington's not showing up, Daniel Gafford and Blake Lively feel like they're still missing in this series, and Luka tries to do it all himself.
We got. Are you? Is that a dig? You called him Blake Lively?
Did I say Blake Lively?
Oh, he's playing like Blake Lively. Chris Mack.
Oh, what a Freudian slip that was. Wow.
That's hilarious. Wasn't there a baseball player that got the announcer said that his name was Blake Light. What was his actual name too?
I don't remember that, but that is such a slip up by me. That tells you all you need to know about the Dallas supporting cast and the job they've done. And then Luka tries to do too much, Minty, and that's where we end up with 8 turnovers and sloppy Luka.
I was also very surprised to see Luka in the form he was in last night. It is very unfortunate because isn't he hurt? He's struggling health-wise with his knee, his ankle, his chest, and it sucks because Dallas is one of those teams that does need their star player to perform, and Kyrie absolutely not showing up doesn't help either. So very unfortunate for this Mavs team, although I hope that playing in Dallas will benefit the Mavericks and give them some motivation. Boston is 6-0 on the road in the playoffs, and I don't know. Dallas opening as a slight favorite kind of seems like a line that I don't really want to lay the points with Dallas. So I don't know. This one's going to be really tricky.
Well, how about what happened with Game 2's side last night? So Game 1, it was Boston 6.5. We know what happens there. It ends up being a blowout. And then Game 2, they adjusted by bumping it up a point. It's Boston minus 7.5 at the opener. It was there for like a day or so. And then you started to get some Dallas money in to where it came down to 7 and a lot of spots closed at 6.5. So you really can't say Team X covered the point spread last night because at 6.5, Boston covered the spread. At 7, we got a push. At 7.5, the earlier number, which is what we were talking about on Friday, Dallas ends up covering the point spread. So they were right on it, right on that number. Have not been right on the total. Yeah, like you mentioned, the total, the under has been hitting for quite some time. And, you know, a lot of times in these playoff series, you'll see scoring early on, but we have not seen that from these two defensive-minded teams for the most part. So yeah, it's been dropping. Game 1 was 217.5. We're down 5 points after 2 games to 212.5 at Dallas. So I do wonder when it's going to flip. I'm not expecting it to be under throughout, but you know, again, part of it is the storyline in the first couple games. Dallas not doing their part. The others outside of Luka not doing their part. Typically at home in the playoffs, role players step up at home. So I'm sure that's part of the reason that Dallas is favored. that you see some of the guys coming off the bench and the other names are expected to play better. You typically shoot better at home. And Porzingis, we don't know the health of Porzingis. He mentions after the game, it's something, but then he also says, I'll die out there. So it's like, if you're listening to what he's saying, he's going to play, but how much is he going to play? How healthy is he going to be? I don't know. Minty, it wouldn't shock me if they decide to sit Porzingis up 2-0.
Yeah, I think they honestly could sit Porzingis out here. We've seen the Celtics, like I said earlier, prove that they really don't need their star player to win games here. And I don't know. I think I want the Mavericks to win Game 3 here. I mean, it should benefit them playing at home, like Chris alluded to earlier. Role players tend to step up when playing back at home, but Boston's fierce on the road in the playoffs. And man, they just have so many playmakers, I should say. They have so many playmakers that come in during big moments, and Jaylen Brown has been dominant this postseason. But I think what the Mavericks need to win Game 3 is PJ Washington needs to step up, sink buckets consistently. I mean, he's averaging almost 14 points a game with almost 7 rebounds. Derrick Jones Jr. also a good playmaker. Kyrie needs to step up, and I don't know though, because of Luka's health, I just don't really see a certain path to success for the Mavericks here in Game 3. So yeah.
Stanley Cup Final Game 2 tonight. Face off just after 8 o'clock. Florida minus 140 favorite at BetMGM. Edmonton plus 120 on the money line tonight. Series now decidedly in Florida's favor, at least as far as the odds go. Minus 250. Edmonton plus 210. Total still sits at 5.5, Joe. It was essentially a 2-goal game on Saturday night. Panthers added an empty netter late. Right. What was interesting is Edmonton played better 5-on-5 than Florida. I did not expect that. They've now killed 30 penalties in a row. Connor McDavid got plenty of opportunities, and Sergei Bobrovsky just stood on his head at some points, and he is playing out of his mind right now. Short favorite to win Conn Smythe as well at plus 220 now. That number, not a ton of value there, considering you could still get a Barkov who's at plus 270 and a Kachuk at 450. McDavid at 3-1. I knew Bobrovsky, or I had a feeling Bobrovsky would have a shutout at some point in this series. Now that it happens in Game 1, Joe, I think I'm leaning towards Edmonton tonight, and maybe even leaning over on this one, because I expect some regression toward the mean. And I expect some of those Connor McDavid shots to go in. I don't think Bobrovsky's going to melt down by any means, but I think this is the spot where Edmonton gets a win and sends it back to Edmonton tied 1-1.
Yeah, Edmonton outshot Florida 32-18 in that game. If you look at expected goals in favor of Edmonton, huge, 5.6 to 1.8. Bobrovsky, that was not a ho-hum shutout. Like the breakaways, dangerous chances, just a ridiculous performance. And that's exactly why he's right now the favorite to be your Conn Smythe winner. And I would say well-deserved. And I agree with your take on the Oilers tonight, that after what we saw, I think this is going to be the bounce-back performance. And if they go there, end up splitting it, win as a dog tonight, they're going to be really happy going back home. But yeah, I'm with you. That's where I'm looking. I'm taking a look at a number of these player props. Like you mentioned McDavid with 6 shots on goal. The number's 3.5 for him tonight. I don't think it would take that much for him to go over that. I was looking at Draisaitl. His is at 2.5. Also looking at different goals there. But yeah, I agree. This is an Edmonton spot, and Minty, I expect this one to be split after tonight. How about you?
I absolutely agree. I mean, we know what Edmonton is capable of in terms of scoring, and we knew this was going to be a tough feat for them against one of the strongest, deepest, and most complete teams in the NHL. But I believe we'll see more life from the Oilers in game two. They're cashing at almost 60% after a loss this season. They are the better team to the naked eye and honestly should have won that game because they did have some good control on ice, but Florida was able to win because they were able to capitalize on the mistakes that Edmonton made, and every mistake Edmonton made resulted in a goal. So I actually really love Edmonton in this spot at plus 120. And I am looking at a player prop here as well. Zach Hyman, as we know, has been phenomenal for the Oilers, and his total shots is set at 3.5. I'm actually going under at minus 125. Although, his shots total is set on the higher side, and he has gone over this number in 6 of his last 9 games. He's only recorded 3 shots in game 1, and I think he is going to struggle a little bit against the Panthers. He actually did struggle quite a bit against the Panthers in the regular season, and his production does dip a bit when playing away from Edmonton. So I like Zach Hyman under 3.5 shots.